Have you ever wondered about the real cost of that quick thrill from online gambling? In the Philippines, what started as a seemingly harmless pastime is rapidly turning into a national crisis, with devastating consequences for families and communities. Let's take a closer look at what's really happening behind the screen. In the first half of 2025 alone, it's estimated that a staggering one-third of all Filipinos engaged in some form of online gambling. That's a massive jump, and it's not just a statistic, it represents millions of real people. A recent survey revealed that 64% of respondents had gambled online, and tragically, many of them come from low-income households, hoping for a miracle that rarely comes. The hard truth is, only a tiny fraction ever win big. The vast majority find themselves trapped in a spiral of losses and debt. But the damage doesn't stop at empty wallets. It's fueling a shadow world of crime and addiction. In Luciana City, for instance, police have reported a direct link between property crimes and online gambling addiction. Desperate to cover their losses, people are turning to theft. Even more worrying is the connection to organized crime. Unregulated and illegal gambling platforms, many based offshore, have become perfect vehicles for money laundering and other illicit activities, funneling dirty money through our digital economy. The very technology that makes our lives easier is now making this problem worse. Mobile phones, e-wallets, and instant payment platforms provide 24/7 access to these gambling sites. This constant availability is a perfect storm for addiction, especially for young people and other vulnerable individuals who are easily drawn in by the promise of easy money. Our regulators are struggling to keep up. Many of these platforms operate from outside the country, making them incredibly difficult to control. This lack of oversight has serious implications. Experts warn that if this continues, the Philippines could risk being placed back on an international grey list for failing to combat money laundering. This would damage our financial reputation and could scare away legitimate investors. Seeing this danger, lawmakers are now calling for much stricter regulations, especially on the e-wallets and online lending apps that fuel this industry. So, what happens if we do nothing? The picture is grim. For individuals and families, we'll see more people falling into crippling debt, forced to sell their homes or belongings. This financial pressure leads to immense mental health struggles, with rising rates of depression, anxiety, and family breakdowns. One report even compared the addictive nature of excessive online gambling to substance abuse. And perhaps most tragically, when young people are pulled into this cycle, the poverty and emotional distress can be passed down to the next generation. For our communities, the consequences are just as severe. The rise in property crimes we're already seeing in places like Lucena could become a nationwide trend. As desperate individuals resort to crime to fund their addiction, our neighborhoods become less safe. Organized crime syndicates will continue to flourish, using gambling as a front for their operations, weakening our institutions and eroding social trust. the long-term costs to our justice system, social services, and mental health care could become overwhelming. Economically, the damage could be immense. Any revenue the government collects from legal gambling could be dwarfed by the social costs. In fact, one study estimated that the social and economic damage caused by online gambling was nearly double the revenue it generated. If the illegal market continues to grow, the government will lose both tax revenue and its ability to regulate, creating a vicious cycle that's harder and harder to break. But there is hope. There are clear, actionable solutions being discussed right now that can turn this tide. First and foremost, we need stronger regulatory oversight. This means tightening the rules for Know Your Customer or KYC protocols. By strictly monitoring transactions and linking e-wallets to licensed gambling platforms only, we can make it much harder for illegal operators to hide. There are even proposals to ban or severely restrict the use of e-wallets for gambling altogether. And for those illegal operators, we need to shut them down and impose serious penalties. Second, we must treat this as a public health issue. Gambling addiction is a real illness, and people need help. This means providing access to counseling and rehabilitation programs, and launching public awareness campaigns to educate everyone about the risks. We can also implement practical tools within the apps themselves, like self-exclusion options, spending caps, and mandatory age verification to give people more control. We need to educate our youth, not with scare tactics, but with honest conversations about financial literacy and the true odds of getting rich quick. Third, we have to address the root causes. Many people turn to gambling out of desperation. By focusing on creating jobs, improving financial literacy, and providing alternative forms of recreation, we can offer people better paths forward. We also need to crack down on the aggressive advertising that bombards us on social media, often targeting the most vulnerable among us. Finally, this requires a united front. Government agencies, banks, internet providers, fintech companies, and law enforcement must all work together. A total ban might just push the problem further underground, making it even harder to control. The goal isn't to prohibit all forms of gambling, but to create a balanced, regulated environment that minimizes harm, protects the vulnerable, and ensures transparency. Online gambling in the Philippines has crossed the line from entertainment to a full-blown social crisis. It's a complex problem tied to debt, crime, and addiction, threatening the well-being of our families and the integrity of our institutions. But by implementing strong regulations, focusing on public health, educating our citizens, and working together, we can reclaim our digital spaces and build a safer, more stable future for everyone. The time for action is now. Thank you so much for watching. If this video resonated with you, please give it a thumbs up. Share it with your friends and family, and subscribe for more content that matters. Let's keep the conversation going in the comments below. Stay safe and take care.